I refused to babysit my nephews on vacation again, and it changed everything. Family vacations are supposed to be relaxing, but for me, they've always been more of a chore. Last summer was the breaking point. My family planned a beach getaway that quickly turned into a full-time babysitting gig for me. My sister Lucy and her husband Tom have 3 energetic boys, and while I love my nephews dearly, spending the entire trip as their de facto nanny wasn't my idea of a vacation. It wasn't even subtle. Lucy and Tom claimed they needed a little break and assured me they'd take turns watching the kids. That didn't happen. Instead, I found myself sharing a cramped hotel room with 3 wild boys while Lucy and Tom enjoyed quiet evenings to themselves. My plans to visit an art gallery, a rare indulgence I was looking forward to, were dismissed as selfish because the boys didn't want to go. When I voiced my disappointment, Lucy waved it off with a flippant, "You're staying here for free, aren't you?" This year, when my parents, Patricia and Frank, floated the idea of another family vacation, I decided things had to change. I calmly informed them that I'd be driving myself and booking my own hotel room. The shock on their faces was almost comical. "But that's so expensive," Mom protested, clearly expecting me to back down. I didn't. I had a steady job and could afford my independence. When Lucy found out about my plan, she was livid. She called me, fuming, "You're going to ruin the vacation. How am I supposed to handle the boys alone?" Her voice was a mix of anger and desperation, as if my refusal to babysit was a personal attack. I'd had enough. "Lucy," I said firmly, "I love my nephews, but last year wasn't a vacation for me. I'm not doing that again." Lucy accused me of being selfish, but I didn't let her guilt trip me. For once, I put myself first. It didn't take long for the fallout to escalate. Lucy roped my parents into the drama, and soon enough, they called for one of their infamous family talks. This wasn't a conversation, it was an ambush. They urged me to reconsider for the sake of keeping the peace. Dad even tried the classic guilt trip. "We're family. We should be able to work things out without you airing our dirty laundry." I stayed calm. "Dad, I tried talking to you about this last year. No one listened. If I didn't say anything publicly, nothing would have changed." For the first time, they didn't have a response. I laid out the facts, how I'd been roped into babysitting, missed out on everything I wanted to do, and felt dismissed when I tried to express my frustration. Mom mumbled something about exaggerating, but when I listed specific examples, they couldn't deny it. Lucy wasn't about to back down. She called me again, angrier than ever. "Do you know how hard it is being a mom? You don't have kids, so you don't get it." Her words struck a nerve. I've always been understanding of how challenging parenting is, but Lucy seemed to think my free time was automatically hers to use. I recorded the conversation, knowing she'd later twist my words. When she started making digs about how I didn't have a life, I snapped.
"My time is valuable, Lucy."
"I'm not your nanny." I hung up, expecting the backlash to intensify, and I wasn't wrong. As the vacation date approached, Lucy's attempts to manipulate the situation reached new heights. She bombarded our parents with complaints, painting herself as the victim. Eventually, they were so fed up they canceled the beach trip entirely. I felt a pang of guilt, but I knew standing my ground was the right thing to do. To my surprise, Tom, her husband, finally stepped in. He confronted Lucy, demanding to know why she'd been expecting me to babysit for free all this time. It turned out Lucy had been shortchanging me for years, throwing me just enough cash to order a pizza while I watched her kids for hours. Tom was furious and insisted she pay me back. Watching her scramble to apologize and actually follow through was surreal. For once, someone other than me was holding her accountable. When my parents realized how deeply rooted the problem was, they finally started to see things from my perspective. Dad apologized, admitting they'd leaned on me too much to keep the peace. "We didn't realize how unfair it was to you," he said quietly. It was a step in the right direction. Lucy, however, wasn't ready to let go. Even as the vacation was rescheduled, she continued sending passive-aggressive texts, hinting that I should just stick to the original plan. I ignored her. On the day we were supposed to leave, I left early, ensuring there'd be no last-minute attempts to drag me back into old patterns. At the hotel, I made it clear to the staff, no one was to have my room information. I needed this vacation to be on my terms. When we met for dinner that evening, Lucy predictably tried to guilt me again. "You're just doing your own thing while I'm stuck handling everything." I smiled. "Mom and Dad are here. Tom's here. I think you'll be fine." Her face darkened, but for once, she didn't argue. The rest of the trip was surprisingly peaceful. I stuck to my own schedule, joining family activities when I wanted to, but spending most of my time exploring on my own. I visited art galleries, strolled along the beach, and finally had the vacation I deserved. On the last day, Lucy cornered me in the hotel lobby. She accused me of not caring about her struggles. "You don't understand how hard it is to be a mom," she said. I took a deep breath.
Luci, ido care.
"But your kids are your responsibility, not mine. I have my own life, and it's time you respected that." For a moment, she seemed stunned. Then she turned and walked away. In the weeks that followed, my parents continued to reflect on how they'd treated me. They encouraged Lucy to seek counseling and started setting boundaries with her themselves. Mom even apologized for not being more understanding earlier. "We should have listened to you," she said. Lucy, begrudgingly, began to adjust. Tom took on more responsibilities, and she stopped expecting me to drop everything for her. Our relationship is still strained, but there's progress. Standing up for myself changed everything. It wasn't just about the vacation, it was about reclaiming my life. The experience taught me the importance of boundaries and self-respect. My family finally saw me as more than just the single sibling with free time. And in standing up for myself, I found a strength I didn't know I had. As a bonus, the whole ordeal caught the attention of someone I'd admired from afar. After seeing my social media post about the drama, she reached out and we ended up talking and laughing about it. That was the push I needed to finally ask her out. Looking back, I'm glad I stood my ground. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. My family dynamic has shifted for the better, and I'm finally living life on my terms. It's not perfect, but for the first time in a long time, I feel free.